Started out back in actually February. Dave Anthony sat me down and said, "Here's the new story for Call of Duty Black Ops, and you're going to be like, well, how is this going to be the future?" I go, "How far in the future?" And he goes, "Yeah, it's going to be Wood's going to be an old man in a chair, and in a wheelchair." I'm like, oh, Jesus, how are we going to do that? How are we going to keep that? So first of all, wheelchair, get that feel, and then I started thinking about behavior. And I remember I met the great James Coburn, who's a great actor from the 60s and 70s. And I remember when I met him, he had terrible arthritis and his hands were kind of caught and jammed up like this. And I remember I didn't know, and I shook his hands, and I kind of, it's James Coburn, he's like a real badass, right? So I shake his hand, and I hear it go crunch, crunch, and I was totally humiliated. But he had these fingers that were jammed up, so I added that to Old Man Woods, like, you're old, how do your fingers feel?
Aside from the fact that I'm still alive, none of this surprises me.
What does that mean? Besides the fact that I'm still alive, and I went through 1,000. Besides the fact that I'm still alive, and I did all these readings of it.
Aside from the fact that I'm still alive, none of this surprises me. Aside from the fact that I'm still alive, none of this surprises me. None of this surprises me.
And you take each line and you go over it and over it. Everything was done right here. I mean, they gave me 3 different scripts for this. And this is actually, this is not even a script. This is like a compilation of like 3 other scripts. One was really long, the lines went from like, what happens when the enemy steal the keys, or what happens when you lose the keys? And no one ever asked the question, what happens? That we had so many different versions of that.
Robots, whole, unmanned armies to do their dirty work. Sounds great, right? What happens when you lose the keys? And no one ever asked the question, what happens when you lose the keys? What happens when the enemy steals the keys?
I don't want Old Man Woods to be too feeble. He still needed to be a badass. I wanted to get the sense Old Man Woods, he would kick your ass from a wheelchair. He would slam it and he would weaponize his wheelchair. Old Man Woods is gonna have like a knife stuck into the side, maybe a couple of M60s, and he would weaponize the wheelchair, right?
They'll always need men like us. They'll always need men like us. They'll always need men like us. They figured it out. They'll always need men like us. They'll always need men like us. Those who are willing to do what others cannot.
What you see at the end result is Old Man Woods is a composite of maybe 4 or 5 different takes, and all these different line reads. Because you train the thought drives how the line comes out of your mouth. So it's like, and just you just sit here and you do your homework. That's all. Old Man Woods is, until you get to love him, he's a badass. He's a badass in a wheelchair.
But it still takes a shadow to kill a beast.